total family. So I am going to bring on Jairrod Burch. Now, Jairrod and I, well, he is the CEO and founder of Value on Purpose, LLC, but Jairrod and I connected, I want to say in 2019. It's been a couple years, and there's something to say for solid, consistent integrity, honor, respect, like all of those words totally embody who this gentleman is as a human being. And I'm just honored to be able to have him join us. Hi, Jairrod. How are you?
How are you, Elena? How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm good. I'm good. I've learned a couple things. You cannot be on Facebook longer than 8 hours before having to reset.
Only 8?
Yeah. So even though my Zoom is 24, after 8 hours, Facebook booted me off. And so I had to like come back on. So that's a learning experience. Yeah. So I want to get right into things because number one, thank you for sharing your time and for being here. But number two, I want to give people the value of you because I know you carry a lot with you and have a lot to share. So first off, why don't you just introduce yourself and kind of a brief description of who you are and how you serve, and then we'll get into a couple questions.
Just real brief. First of all, thank you for having me on your platform, speaking into the people that you that have trust in you, because before people buy from you, they need to buy into you. So you're definitely someone who I've bought into a long time ago because of how you carry yourself. That means a lot with me. My name is Jairrod A. Burch. I am the CEO and founder of Value on Purpose. And what I do is it's coaching, advising, and speaking. And I help people who can only look at themselves. I help them to be able to see themselves, because those are two different things. Being able to look, now being able to see. What's the difference? That big difference is what I'm gifted to do, and that is to help people with their value.
Love it. Thank you. Like, that is huge. What caused you to like actually follow this path of influencing others through speaking and coaching?
Because of my upbringing was ministry. So I knew at an early age that I had a gift, but it wasn't until later on that I found out that I had a responsibility with that gift. And especially for those who are transitioning from the kingdom or in the church walls into the marketplace, whether it be sports arenas, universities, corporate businesses. A lot of people have come to me and talked to me. How did you make that transition? Was it hard? Was it a challenge? Along with finding out that I had a gift to speak, along with finding out that I had a responsibility with that. I actually had to go through some things in my life that I've experienced being devalued, not knowing what my full potential or my full purpose is. I knew my gift, but I didn't know my full purpose. And it was up until about 2014. That's when I came to a fork in the road. And the fork in the road was I had to learn the importance of saying no to, and attached with that no was my yes, because in 2015, that's when I started and opened Value on Purpose. So me knowing that I had a gift, me knowing that I had a purpose, but none of that would have been able to come to manifestation if I didn't know, number one, there was a responsibility that went with that gift, and me being able to learn the significance of saying no so that I could walk into my yes.
That is beautiful. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize the gift in a no, right? The gift in a no. But I also love the fact that you claim the responsibility, because I think sometimes people think that when you're gifted, it's just like, you know, you're just in this space that is easy, and it's actually a heavy responsibility. It truly, truly is.
It's actually harder.
Yeah, it is harder because it's not about you.
Right.
You know, so what is it specifically about like an individual's value and purpose that caused you to choose to make that your focus in your work today? Like, because you are Mr. Value. So what is it that made that your focus?
One of the big things is that I was already traveling and in ministry. I was speaking, singing, doing a lot, and I understood. See, a lot of people know their gift, but just because you are being used in your gift does not mean you are being valued for who you are. And I had to understand that even within the kingdom, even within the church, there were people who benefited off me being gifted, but they did not value me as an individual. And I had to understand those two dynamics, because we don't associate that type of mentality or behavior with Christianity or church for the most part. So when I started to understand what was going on, and that thing inside of me, that desire inside of me would not let me suffice. There's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to say no. And that no, you're going to have to mean it when you say it, because that no is coming for a purpose. And I remember the day, honestly, that I said no. I was asked to do something. It was a large event coming up, and they were asking me, well, hey, we want to use you in this same capacity over and over. And I knew I had other gifts, but I also understood that I knew if I did not say no, I would stay landlocked in that box, in that particular one gift that they were using me for, and I would never be able to be used in the other things that I knew that was inside of me. So when I finally did say no, and I meant it when I said it, that no was able to unlock my yes to being able to write books, being featured on other books, being featured with other influencers, being chosen for TED Talk, being chosen for a tour here and speaking to NFL athletes and their combines. But I had to understand that me being gifted did not mean me being valued by others. So understanding I had to target what I had been being pulled from, and that was my value and my purpose.
So is that what you help others with today, is how to stand firm in their values and purpose?
Definitely. That's just one part of it. But the reason why specifically with those two things, value and purpose, it doesn't matter what background, if you're rich or poor, what ethnicity.
You kind of got a little choppied up there. It's kind of a little choppy. Let's see. It says.
Can you still hear me?
Yep. I'm getting a flash that says your bandwidth is low. So I can hear you. I know sometimes the video fights with the volume. So
Can you hear me now? Are you still
Mhm.
with me?
Yep, I can
Okay.
hear you.
So I had to realize that those two things, both value and purpose, no matter what background you come from, rich or poor, black or white, what financial background that you had, whether you had money, whether you didn't, those are the two things that are asked the most. Who am I, which is value, and where am I going? That's your purpose. Those are the two dynamics that everybody comes to ask, no matter where you're from. And that's what I've been gifted to help people.
Wow, that's amazing. This is just like a personal one-off question. Do you normally speak in general on the topic, or do you actually work one-on-one individually with people?
Actually, both.
Okay.
So when I speak, that's what I speak on. Value, knowing your value, knowing what your value is, and showing how it's tied to your purpose, whether that is speaking ball recruits that are coming in, NFL camp for high school students, or whether that is speaking one-on-one coaching. I'm dealing with it one-on-one as well as dealing with it in a general sense to an audience.
Gotcha. That's amazing. And you brought up a whole topic that I don't really know has been described so clearly, of just value, period. Starting with valuing ourselves to be able to value others is just beautiful. Is it ever too late? Let's say, is it ever too late for an individual or someone to just change the direction of their life for good, even if they have been through like some of the worst challenges and some that have maybe made them not feel valued anymore? Is it ever too late?
It's always the right time when you're actually serious about it. It's never too late when you're serious about it. Because when you find out your value, it's like your eyes are being open for the first time. And you immediately find out who people
I'm sorry, I'm
really
getting the
are
flash
behind.
again that your network bandwidth is low. I want to hear what you have to say. Do you mind turning the camera off? Because I think sometimes that helps with bandwidth. And
Sure. Let me try it.
yeah, I
You
know
hear me
that
now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
If you can go ahead, just so that the viewers will be able to catch your question, and then I'll go ahead and answer that again.
Yes. Okay. Because I know that you've got so much to share. My question was, is it ever too late for an individual to change the direction of their life for the good, right? Like, even if they've been through some of life's worst challenges and have struggled with feeling value, like, is it ever too late?
It's never too late, but that is always the trick, to make you feel like you're behind in time, you've missed out on so much, you're discredited of what you went through, you're disqualified because of what you went through. I believe that when you're serious about finding out who you really are, that is a major step. But when your eyes finally become open to your value, you immediately find out who people are not. You find out who was, and then you find out who was really with you.
Yes. That you're nailing it. I've lived it, I've experienced it. But how can a person's life be affected? Like, how can they see this in themselves when they truly are not aware of their own purpose and value?
How can it, you said, how can it affect them?
Yeah, like how can their life be affected? Like I'm when I look back and I think at a point where I struggle to find my own purpose and my own value. I know where I was back then. How do you think people can determine in their life right now that they aren't aware of truly their value and their purpose? How does that show up?
That the first thing that's going to show up in is that it's going to show up in almost, have you ever found out some really good news and the only thing that you could do when you found it out was that deep breath and that exhale? Because usually it is a mental and a spiritual and emotional battle to find your value or to have somebody to help you to unlock that, because you're fighting against what everyone else has placed on you.
Mhm.
This is who you are because of what you went through, or this is what you're capable of and no more. When you do find that out, it's a heavy weight that does come off your shoulder, because now you could see who you are versus who they said you are. But it's also, again, back to that responsibility, because now you have a responsibility to stay in that place, because you can find it out, but it can be heavy. It can be heavy because you'll run into the same people and they'll know when you've changed, because they'll try to treat you the same way they did when you didn't know or think you were valued. Then all of a sudden they see, oh, you act different. Oh, you talk different. Oh, we can't approach you the same. So that you'll start to see those indications, and a lot of them will be because it'll be like working out. When you're working out, the first indication and the people that will let you know of your progress is the people outside who can see you're losing weight or who can see that you're gaining muscle. You're so close to the mirror, you're kind of the last one who will find it out, but they'll be able to tell you, oh, you talk different. Oh, you carry yourself, you're smiling a little bit more. What's wrong? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And that right there, that's how you'll start to know.
Yes. Yes. And I, you know, when you talk on the topic just of value, it takes me to a place, like it takes me to the place of when I discovered my husband's affair, right? After he passed away. And it is really hard to go through the process of rediscovering your value when it feels like it was taken from you, right?
Right.
How, you know, and I know the work that I had to go through to do it. I fought to be able to get myself back here. What do you tell the person that is still in that low, dark spot that just doesn't believe they have any worth anymore?
Sometimes the best thing that you can tell them is nothing. Sometimes the best thing said and the best thing that is to be spoken is just your presence showing up in their life. I remember I had a friend of mine in Kentucky, and they called me and they said, hey, my mother just passed away. Can you come and just be with me?
Mhm.
I got ready, got dressed. I was in Indianapolis at the time, and I shot out there. When I arrived at the hospital, it was University Hospital in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, I believe. When I arrived, the family was in the room, but when I got in the room, I never said one word.
Mhm. Mhm.
When
That's
you're
powerful.
going through something, You've already had so many people speak so many things to you. You don't want words, you need action.
Mhm.
And sometimes the best thing to do is to just keep showing up for somebody who is going through something. Just keep showing up. They notice you're there. They see you're there. And them being in debris, emotional debris, spiritual debris, mental debris, they know that as long as you keep showing up, it doesn't matter how bad of a situation that they're in, you just showing up are proof that they won't be in their situation too long.
Yes, that is so true. Just showing up. You know, sometimes there are so many words coming that it's almost more exhausting for the person on that receiving end to feel that they have to reply or respond if somebody's speaking to them more. So for you to say, like, in just silence and just showing up, that actually speaks volumes. That's huge.
Because it's alone and just being there. You know when you're going through, because when I mean I've been through, man, I've been through so much from in my life, from the worst experiences, that it actually angers you when you keep hearing people talk.
Mhm.
A lot of times it is not the words that you need. You just want somebody to just be there as proof that you still exist, that you're not invisible, even in your mess.
Yes, I love it. Proof that you still exist, that you're not invisible. That right there is powerful. That right there is worth people writing down and keeping, because I think that's the place so many get is we hear it all the time. You know, you matter, you're important, but to just have that presence with you, that you're not here to fix me, you're not here to solve it. You're just proving that I exist and I'm not invisible. That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know if you planned on saying that or if that came out organically, because that's absolutely so powerful right there. What do you see forward? Like, what are your goals? How do you plan on serving more, or what is in the future for you?
I'm still going to be doing what I've been called to do, what I've been gifted to do, and that is to speak, and not just speak to people, but to be able to speak into people's lives. Whether it's you got the school season starting. I've already been talking to several coaches, softball varsity coaches, football coaches, things like that, that want me to come and speak to their teams. Whether it is speaking to a corporation, whether it is speaking at a university, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's on stage, I'm going to be doing what I've been gifted to do. But along with that, going right back to the responsibility. When you're gifted, and even when you unlock your value, when you discover your purpose, it is not easy, because people can look at you online right now and they're like, oh man, she looks so good and she looks radiant and she's always smiling. But there is a burden that comes with that blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you are gifted to help others with, that is what you are fought with on the opposite side.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am gifted to help people discover their true value and their true purpose, what do you think I am fought against on the opposite side when the cameras go off, when there's nobody around? Who's fighting anxiety, fighting depression, fighting all the, just because we have found our purpose doesn't mean that it is easy from there on out. It just means that we have another level of commitment.
Yes. Yes. And that's, you know, I had spoken with someone who talked about the things that you value and how your core values come from your greatest void. And that one struck me, you know, because there are these things that are so huge, and that's how I serve. But knowing that for me, yes, it comes from a place that was so void, you know, in my past. And so it is heavy because you're actually stepping into a place of your own vulnerability over and over and over again, but yet you're empowered to carry it. And it's very complex. So I love how you have called it the responsibility that it is. It's difficult.
It is
So
because it's very vulnerable, because you're, like you said, you're going and you're revisiting these places and times where you've had pain, where you've had to suffer, but through that, someone else is being empowered.
yes. And for me, it does show up. It shows up of feeling invisible. It shows up of always having been alone. You know, all of these places that, to me, all my work revolves around lifting people, helping them shine. No child needs to be alone, like all of these things. And it's just great to be able to turn it around. And I'm sure you feel the same, to do something good with it, you know?
Right.
So it has been like a couple years since we've connected. And I just want to say here publicly for everyone that you are absolutely one of the few people that have come into my life. Somehow the connection was made, and I don't even remember how, but you remain consistent and you remain on point. And I know I'm going to get Jairrod every time. How have you managed? Like, is that just something that was natural in you, or have you made that be a priority, that it is now just how you carry yourself? Because that's very rare these days.
I try to be for other people what I did not have in other people. When I wanted somebody or I needed somebody to be there, and I didn't have that. So it's my responsibility, because I messed up a lot. I mean, let's just keep it real. I mess up a lot. I make a lot of mistakes. But I remember when I took my son roller skating, and it was the first time, at least I thought. So when we were putting on our roller skates, I was thinking the entire time, just don't fall. If I just don't fall, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be great. While I was tying my last roller skate, I heard wheels in the background. And then I heard my son go, "Dad, come on, hurry up, get out here." First of all, I'm like, who taught you how to skate? That's number one. I'm like, he's skating like, and I'm like, okay, so, all right, let me get out here. I'm skating out there like I'm 62 years old. I'm careful, you know, I'm not wanting to fall. And at the end of the night, when I was skating to go sit down, I remember feeling relieved, like, man, I didn't fall the entire time. But you know what? I also understood that although I didn't fall, I had to understand I did fail. I failed because I failed to be in the moment, because I was so worried about making a mistake. My mistakes show that I'm putting in effort. My mistakes show that I'm trying. And the consistency that you talk about, that I always get, whether it is one person or whether I'm in front of 1,000, I know what I have been through. I know what I have experienced from the top to the bottom. And I've always been taught, you always show up and you always show up on a regardless of who is there or not. So whether it's one person who needs me, whether it's 100 folks who need me, I'm going to do my best to put forth the effort and try to be and have that same consistency and that same conviction of commitment.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for your time, for truly adding value to everyone over this half hour. It's been an honor of mine to have you part of this first annual Christmas in July event. I really appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.